Simbahan at Halalan 2022
One Godly Vote.
Bilang paghahanda sa May 9 national elections, inihahandog ng CBCP Permanent Council sa pamamagitan ng Commission on Public Affairs at Episcopal Commission on Social Communications sa pakikipagtulungan ng ARCAM AOC, TV Maria, Catholic Media Network, Radio Veritas Asia at Veritas 846, ang radyo ng simbahan, ang isang one-on-one discussion ng mga kandidato sa pagkapangulo, pangalawang pangulo at mga senador.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Alamin ang kanilang plataforma at mga advokasya sa politika, ekonomiya, kultura at kalikasan.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Kasama ang mga Veritas Anchors, Angelic Lazo at Reverend Father Jerome Ceciliano.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Mapapakinggan dito sa Veritas 846, ang radyo ng simbahan, at mapapanood sa Facebook page DZRV 846 at sa Veritas TV Sky Cable Channel 211.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Pinakikilala po namin ang ating pong panauhin, running for senator sa ilalim ng Partido Reformas, Dr. Maria Dominga Padilla. Good morning po, Doktora, and welcome.
Good morning, Angeli. Good morning, Bishop Bacani. Good morning, Father Jerome, at si Andy, at sa lahat ng mga nakikinig at nanonood sa ating ano nga bang araw ngayon? Tuesday. Tuesday morning.
Yes, that's right. Yes, so thank you for joining us. All the way from Bacolod. You're in Bacolod right now, I understand.
Yes, Bacolod ngayon, yes. I'm living in a friend's house. No? Dito muna ako for a few days kasi nag-iikot kami. And so, yes, I'm joining you from Bacolod.
Okay, so now we will give you 8 minutes, Doktora, to explain to our audience kung ano po ang nais po ninyong magawa. Ano po sa inyo pong panunungkulang pag kayo po'y pinalag maging isang senadora. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Maraming salamat, no? Actually, as you said, ako isang doktora, doctor of medicine. For 34 years ako nagpa-practice. But yung aking pagka-doktor, hindi lang limitado sa aking clinic, ay talaga ako nagsilbi bilang founder ng iBank, bilang advisor ng DOH, maraming mga babatas. At naglikod rin ako for 1.5 years sa PhilHealth kasi nag-SOS yung Secretary of Health during the last portion of the Aquino administration. Ako rin po ay naging spokesperson ng UP Universal Healthcare Study Group. Kaya kami rin na nagsulong ng Universal Healthcare Act na napirmahan noong 2019. And ditong pandemya naman ho, ako ay talagang tumulong sa gobyerno bilang medical lead ng Project ARC ng Go-Negosyo na tumulong sa mga MSMEs, yung maliliit na mga negosyante na talagang masyadong naapektuhan itong pandemya. At dahil din ho sa pandemya, nakaisa ay mga doktor, mga nurse, mga healthcare workers na we need to have representation sa Senado. Dahil napaka-importante, napakahalaga na kalusugan. I think I don't have to explain anymore how important health is. Literally, health is wealth. Now, anong gagawin ko kung pagpalain ako ng Diyos na makapasok sa Senado? First of all, we have to make sure makalabas tayo sa pandemya. Tututukan natin ito. Kasi ho, yung pagiging mambabatas ay hindi lang paggawa ng batas, ito rin ay oversight. Very important yung oversight. You have to look at yung mga batas na nagawa na, paano sila pinapapatupad? Tama ba? May kailangan bang palitan? So, I will also, I'll have a Pandemic Preparedness Act. Kasi isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit talagang nahirapan tayo sa long lockdowns is because the country was not ready. Many things we did not have our health infrastructure yung mga gamit, yung mga equipment, no? Dapat meron na tayong paggawaan ng bakuna. There's no reason why we cannot have a manufacturing for vaccines. Dapat pagandahin mo natin, pagalingin pa natin ang ating generics manufacturing capacity so that we can make more medicines locally at hindi tayo dependent sa ibang bansa na mag-i-import. Number 3, part of the pandemic preparedness is dapat yung mga hospital natin are well equipped, at least with the basics around the country. Even yung mga non-expiring na gamit, kasi parang hindi tayo nakahanap. No? Mga kama, mga oxygen cannulas, etc. Now, this is related to the Universal Healthcare Act. And then, we have to have a playbook. Ika nga. No, meron na tayong playbook. Okay, kung mangyari ito, anong gagawin natin? We have to learn from our mistakes. Learn from experiences of the past. Okay? And dapat may standing committees na tayo. So we have to have a Pandemic Preparedness Act, and maybe we can join this with the disaster risk reduction. Because it's not the same as disaster. Pandemics are different, and we know that now. I need to convene. Sana ho, kung makapasok ako sa Senado, ako ay maging head ng Health Committee kasi ako po ay doktor. And i-convene ko right away yung Oversight Committee, the Bicameral Oversight Committee, para i-review ang Universal Healthcare Act. At ako, ito pinaka-importante dyan, yung PhilHealth. Kailangan ho ma-overhaul natin ang PhilHealth. Kasi ho, kailangan mas magkaroon ng transparency at accountability itong National Health Insurance Corporation natin. Marami po ako alam na problema sa loob, systemic problems, kung bakit nagkakanda. Lagi na lang may problema. They always say, oh, hanggang 2027 lang daw ang ating life ng PhilHealth. Why? Tapos ang daming ospital nagre-reklamo, hindi na babayaran. Kahit sinasabi ng PhilHealth na bayaran na. And ito naman, there's also, may pagkukulang din naman sa ibang ospital at ibang doktor. So, we need to fix the system. How do we fix the system? Well, maraming paraan, but I'll just name a few. Now, one is, wala hong, kailangan ho ayusin yung information technology system ng PhilHealth because it is really porous, putas-putas ho siya, no? Maraming pwedeng lumusot at fragmented. Patsa-patsa, takbi-takbi, hindi siya konektado sa isa't isa. Imposible ho magkaroon ng magandang health insurance system kung gano'n ang sistema. We have to fix that. And I propose also ho na talagang for transparency, talagang include natin sa batas yung random, maybe twice a year, audit of the information technology system. Kasi itong, alam naman ho natin, yung computer system, pwedeng fake ang pumasok na data, fake ang lalabas na data. There has to be a regular random audit of this by an external reputable company para habang ginagawa may audit. Hindi ho kaya ng COA alone. COA is after the fact. No? Yung GCG is also after the fact. Pero habang nangyayari itong mga operations ng PhilHealth, kailangan may audit and random. It can be done. Then dapat may tie-up sila. Wala sa batas ito. Dapat may tie-up and cooperation between PhilHealth and the Philippine Statistics Authority. Kasi how can you have insurance kung hindi nyo alam kung sinong patay na at sinong buhay pa? Nangyayari ho, sinabi na rin ng COA, 2021, they found that nag-inspect sila ng 1% lang ng mga ospital and they found over 8,000 na patay ng senior na binabayaran pa ng premium ng ating DBM, ng 5,000 a year. If you extrapolate that, mga 4 billion paid in premiums to dead people, for dead people. Ang laking aksaya. Kasi matagal mo na namin sinasabi na dapat may automatic yan. Pag manamatay na patao, balaman ng PhilHealth para tapos na yung bayaran. Di ba? Especially if you're being maintained and supported by the government. This same lack of data and coordination also makes possible yung mga patay na nakaka-receive pa ng payments. For example, corruption mo ito. Yung dialysis centers, notorious po. Kasi itong pasyente, kunyari kayo ay may kailangan ng dialysis, may pipirmahan kayo, di ba? CF2, collection form. No? Iba naman, pinapapirma na sa pasyente ahead of time. So you can have a pre-sign, parang mga cheque din, no? post-dated forms. And sometimes, there are some na unscrupulous na patay na ho yung pasyente, ay sinasubmit pa itong form, itong collection form sa PhilHealth at binabayaran pa rin ho. If there was a tie-up, a very close coordination and system and digital system with the Philippine Statistics Authority, hindi ho mangyayari ito. Kasi hindi na mababayaran yung patay na. And then, isa pa ho, yung legal system ng PhilHealth, siguro it has to be outsourced. Kasi alam niyo po, yung PhilHealth ay quasi-judicial. They are the investigators, they are the lawyers, they are the judges, and they are the executors of the penalty. So, very powerful po. It was meant to be such that they don't get afraid to go after the erring healthcare workers or institutions. Kaya lang ho naaabuso at kuminsan ho may extortion. Perhaps we need to also have a way to check this or maybe outsource some of it. And another thing is we may have to transfer it to the Department of Finance kasi insurance ho ito, health insurance ho ito. Dapat may alam sa health insurance at dapat accountable din ho ang mga direktor ng PhilHealth sa nangyayari. O isa lang yun, PhilHealth lang yun, no? Tapos yung mga barangay healthcare workers, no? Healthcare workers in general, from the barangay healthcare workers up, I will refile the Magna Carta for barangay healthcare workers kasi sila po ang hirap na hirap, sila ang frontliners for all seasons. Pero wala, may honorarium, wala po sila, allowance lang po. And barangay healthcare workers should not be dependent, should not be affected by political changes. Dapat may continuity so we can actually train them properly because they are the really frontliners. Sila ho, yung mga nutrition scholars, mga ano ba to? Is there a time limit na?
Yes, that's 8 minutes is up na po. Thank you.
Okay, wow.
Yes.
Ang bilis.
Ang bilis ng 8 minutes pero very meaty po. And we'll have a chance for you to explain. Ano, like itong maganda.
Because I have 12-point agenda but I'm not going to discuss all 12. No?
Yes, po. Okay. Since Father Jerome is also on the line. Father Jerome? Father?
Yes. I was able to listen. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like you to ask the first question to Dr. Mendita, please.
Okay, good morning po, Doktora. At,
Morning, Father.
Napakinggan ko po yung mga nilahad po ninyo dito. Ang focus po talaga ay yung magiging response ng sa plight ng mga Pilipino patungkol po dito sa pandemya. Well, I do understand na
But in kalusugan in general, not just the pandemic.
Tama po. Pero gusto din po natin makita dito that, the life of every Filipino is quite complicated. At ngayon po na medyo nagka-transition po yata tayo, no? Manggagaling po nung sa pandemya, tapos unti-unti po ay mukhang hindi pa naman normal, no? At dito ngayon ay mabubulaga tayo ng talagang iba pa sa komplikadong mga issue at problema na haharapin na naman ng mga kababayan po natin. Of course, nandiyan po yung unemployment. So, at least binanggit po ninyo yung ginagawa po ninyo intervention sa mga SME.
Yes.
Pero ang tanong po natin dito, in terms of legislation, kayo po ba ay gagawa ng anong mga batas para matulungan po natin yung plight ng unang-una, mga walang trabaho, tapos yung mga dati na may trabaho, pero yung kanilang working condition naman ay hindi pa rin sapat para masiguro yung kanila pong mga karapatan.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes for this, Doctora. You have 3 minutes to answer this po. Okay.
We have to start with today. In fact, I'm still wondering why they have not called a special session of Congress. Tanggalin mo na ho yung excise tax sa oil, sa fuel, because this is the root of so many problems. No? And then we have to also increase the subsidies for the people who are in the talagang nahihirapan. Kailangan ho natin also palitan ho yung BAMI, yung barangay, yung small enterprise law para matulungan ng mga tao so they can try to start their own businesses. No? But we are living in a world that's at war. It's almost, we are in the brink of a world war if we don't do the proper things in Russia, in Ukraine. So we have to first things first. Let's remove the excise tax on oil, on electricity, on medicines. The basic and then also basic food. And isa pa tulungan natin ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda. Because food security is another one of my major priorities. I wish I could explain more how to do food security. Pero that's one of the things we have to do. Food, makakaubusan ng pagkain, fertilizers, etc. We have to fix this system. Otherwise, we're going to be a hungry nation. And a nation that's hungry, there's unrest. No? So, hindi lang trabaho, pati pagkain, hirap tayo. So, again, I will amend the BAMI law so that it's easier pa rin for more people to be able to make to work and to earn their own living without necessarily being employed by somebody. Entrepreneurship. We have to continue the work from home. I don't agree that we have to tell people to go back to work. We have to continue the work from home. Menos pamasahe, menos pollution. And it is the reality is that many of us can do work from home. Many industries can do that. The brave this is one thing I'd like to explain more later if I have more time. No, we have to do more budget reform agenda for village empowerment. We have to empower yung mga villages, yung mga barangays, yung mga LGUs. Yung bigyan natin ng mas maraming pera, which we have extra over 300 billion a year, 700 billion lost to corruption. Seep down the money, let them plan their own projects para pumunta dun sa probinsya yung mga taong nasa mga syudad na walang trabaho. Ang problema kasi it's concentrated in the cities, the money, hindi mapapababa sa baba. Pwede gawin yun. That's the brave. That's another legislation. Budget reform agenda for village empowerment. The plan should come from the village and the money can go to them. Sila ang magsasabi anong kailangan nila. It's not the other way around. Our problem na kasi, dinidictate sa kanila kung anong kailangan nilang gawin. Hindi naman nila kailangan. So the money is sometimes wasted or unused, and also often the object of corruption. So if the villages can tell us what they need, then you will have the money go to the villages. You have work in the villages. Hindi lang sila pupunta magiging squatter sa Maynila o sa Metro Cebu o sa Metro Davao. This is one of the things we have to see. And we can spread the wealth throughout the country. Kasi humayaman ho tayo, except that it's not being spread, it's being lost. The corruption, and another thing is, yung mga indigenous people din ho, maraming may kayamanan ho to the indigenous people. We have to revisit the law, and we have to spread out we have to make sure the natural resources in ancestral lands are used properly. So there's so many things that have not been tapped. No? And I think it's a different take, because I've been talking to a lot of indigenous people. They need to be heard, they need to be incorporated without losing their culture. And a lot of it, they have a lot of indigenous land na pinag-aawayan at hindi nagagamit ng tama. So ilan yun? There's brave, indigenous, amend the laws for entrepreneurship to make it less difficult. No? At yung excise tax po, tanggalin na ho natin. Kung hindi nila gawin ito ngayon, yun ang gagawin ko talaga right away. No? I will try to remove that, because this war is not going to be over soon. It's going to go on. No? And pataas yung bilihin, pataas yung gasolina. So bakit pa tayo nagtatax? Tapos lagyan ng cap, no? After $100 per barrel, tapos wala na, hindi na aakyat dapat. Baka aakyat pa ng $200 per barrel, ano na mangyayari sa atin? We cannot anymore afford that. So,
Okay.
pahirap ng pahirap.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Doktora. May follow-up ng question po ako dito. Of course,
Yes.
the government is enforcing ito pong excise tax na binabanggit po ninyo, because the government also needs revenue to finance its programs for the poor, di umano. Okay po.
Yes.
Ngayon ay
Di umano.
binabanggit niyo na kinakailangan niya i-amend yung law, i-revisit yan, at hindi siguro lang yung excise tax, baka yung oil deregulation law na medyo talaga mas mabigat po ito, dahil yung gobyerno dito bilang regulator ay nawawala sa kanya, because of that oil deregulation law. Okay. Ngayon po, ang follow-up question ko dito, the government also needs its funds in order to finance so many programs or projects for the poor at kung ano-ano pa. So, anong pagbabalanse ang gagawin niyo dito sa ganung need ng gobyerno at saka sa need din ng ating mga kababayan?
Ang balanse ho doon, I'm very sorry to say, is talagang pagbabantay ng kaban ng bayan. As I said, based on the Deputy Ombudsman's report, between 700 billion to 1 trillion is lost to corruption. So how can you now justify raising taxes when 20% is lost to corruption? And then we also have more than 300 billion of the budget, which is actually unused. So again, why? So why are we paying for the inefficiency or maybe the corruption that we are seeing? The ombudsman, there must be oversight over the ombudsman, because they make sure that the cases will have to move. Ngayon po, aside from that, so we have the law enforcement for the government itself. We have to fix government, and the PPPs, the public-private partnerships. We have to continue helping the industry, jobs, Pero government na rin will not just government, the private sector has to chip in.
Gusto ko lang po muna balikan yung sinabi niyong pagre-reforma po dito ho sa Magna Carta of Healthcare Workers, kasi talagang yung pinaka-estado rin po ng ating mga barangay health centers, people go to the center, walang gamot. Kung meron man, it's medicines that they do not need, mga bagay na completely, totally useless. So, just lang po, for 3 minutes po, if you can summarize ko, ano po yung gusto nyong gawin dito to help both the healthcare workers and the barangay centers themselves?
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that question, Angelique. Part of the Universal Healthcare Act talaga na hindi pa napapatupad It was signed in 2019, and then siguro dahil sa COVID, no? One is talaga the barangay healthcare work centers must have maintenance medicines. Pinipili ho yung pinaka-importanting gamot, yung kailangan ng tao. Hypertension, diabetes, etc., etc. No? Now, ang pagkukulang mo din ng Department of Health ay tinatawag na supply chain management. Marami nabubulok sa mga bodega habang walang gamot sa barangay. Now, there is a study, so many studies na by so many international organizations kung paano aayusin ito, a simple inventory system, education of the therapeutics community sa bawat barangay, no? LGU, wala pa ho nagagawa. So we have to institutionalize ito, yung supply chain management. That's part of my agenda, no, platform. At po yung pagtuturo sa mga LGUs, how do you even buy medicines? How do you choose medicines? Tapos i-oversight natin yung Department of Health. Kailangan mag-iba itong mga practice nila on how they buy medicines, how they supply the medicines. Maraming pa-expire na ho, nabubulok, at habang walang gamot. So this is all part of the universal healthcare law, which is there, but not implemented. That's why sabi ko, oversight, immediately oversight. Kasi dito ko tapos ho yung funding of the UHC, hindi pa ho napapatupad. So all of these things have to be fixed. Once they are fixed, and it's not going to be easy, it's going to be gradual, no? Then talagang kailangan mo talagang, I'm like a broken record, oversight is very important. Pananagutin mo natin yung mga barangay, itong DOH, kung hindi nila gagawin ang tungkulin nila, which is to make sure there are maintenance medicines in the barangay, regular medicines, antibiotics, important medicines, which are free. Sa BHWs ho, training, honorarium, kung pwede, plantilla for some. Because continuous ho yan. Wala silang honorarium, wala silang benepisyo. So we have to include that it's part of the Magna Carta for healthcare workers, passed in the lower house, filed in the Senate, but hindi ho napasa. Wala na ho oras. So ibabalik ho natin, i-verify ho natin yan. That's my promise to the BHWs. So it includes honoraria, it includes more training, it includes benefits. So that they are not, dapat health po should be above politics. Dapat hindi sila dependent kung sino ang barangay captain nakaupo. Dapat andun sila, tuloy-tuloy ang serbisyo sa barangay. At ito rin ang hiling ng mga barangay captain sa amin when I'm going around. They want to fix the system of the BHWs para meron naman ho silang benepisyo at tuloy-tuloy ho yung pagtitrain nila. They're the frontliners. So if our frontliners were better, trained, more equipped, hindi magkakaroon ng overflow yung mga hospitals or the higher centers. So again, Universal Healthcare Act has to be implemented. So, yun lang po, no?
And thank you. Exacto po yung time mo niya. Okay, balikan natin si Father Jerome. Father, please go ahead.
Okay. Maganda po yung binabanggit niyo, Universal Healthcare Act. Ano? At talaga ini-empower po ninyo yung mga partner po natin nangangalaga sa mga tao po diyan po sa barangay. In terms of kasi bilang magiging senador po, talagang trabaho natin dito gumawa ng batas. Ano po ba ang nakikita ninyo na magandang i-enact na batas para ito pong mga binabanggit ninyong programa ay maisulong talaga bilang polisiya po ng gobyerno?
Actually, may batas na ho, Father. There's a Universal Healthcare Act that was actually passed into law. No? Ang problema lang ho is implementation. Kaya as a legislator ho, napakahalaga ng oversight para malaman natin bakit hindi pa na-implement itong mga batas. Lahat ng sinasabi ko, yung empowerment of the barangay, yung referral network, no? Talagang dapat ho sa UHC Act, kung na-implemento ito, from womb to tomb ho. Wala lang tayo, from the time we are in the womb, no? Until we die, meron ho nag-aalaga sa atin, sa gobyerno. Pati hospice, pati palliative care, meron ho. And it starts from education, nutrition, primary health care, hanggang sa, if hindi na kaya ng barangay or ng rural health unit, meron ho referral system. It's all in the law. There is already a law, but it's not implemented. So we have to study, how do we now, paano na natin ma-implement ko ito. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo, Father, sa inyong lahat, na isa sa gagawin ko kung pagpalain po ako at siguro pupunta sa akin ang health committee, no, is talagang convene immediately yung oversight, no? Bakit ng Universal Healthcare Act, kung basahin ninyo, mga nakikinig na nanonood, Universal Healthcare Act, tingnan ho ninyo ang laman nito. Ang sinasabi ko ho, andun yung layunin ng batas. Pero hindi pa rin ho napapatupad. May IRR na po. May IRR na po ito. No? But siguro na it was caught up in COVID because it was signed into law 2019 and then COVID happened in 2020. So I give them the benefit of the doubt kung bakit hindi na pondohan ho ito. Kailangan pondohan. So at kailangan, we can start already with the geographically isolated areas, difficult to reach, yung mga talagang kawawang-kawawa. We can start with that. Gagabayan ho ng DOH dapat yan para magawa sa kanila yung UHC. As soon as you're born, as soon as a Filipino is born, may assigned healthcare giver ka na. Dapat ka may assigned primary healthcare giver na kayo. That's part of the law. Imagine, hindi pa napapatupad. There's so much to do to fulfill the law. But it's there, Father. Andun yung batas. Hindi lang napapatupad. So yun, oversight ko yun. Tututukan ho natin yun. Para by the time 6 years is over, I would have been able to say that we were able to, what you call this, to implement the law which will help all Filipinos have accessible healthcare.
Okay, thank you po. Thank you po, Doktora.
Okay, thank you, Doktora. Kanina po, you also touched a bit on the indigenous peoples, like ancestral domain. Let's try to make something po about yung kanilang ancestral domain, yung kanilang kalusugan, and then of course yung pong plano po ninyo regarding mining, because mining and health, they're also closely related. The environment and health are also closely related. Anong klase pong batas ang naiisip po ninyo, no? Una, do you plan to continue to support ito pong mga open pit mining na pinayagan na po muli last year? Yung po yung support na niyo po ba? Yes, okay. Go ahead, yes.
Okay. I'm now working with indigenous people, no, talaga around the country. And sila naman ho, they're not against mining per se. They're for responsible mining, responsible, no? At hindi naman, dapat ho, kilalanin din daw yung mga karapatan nila dun sa lupa na ginagamit. And I don't think open pit mining is a responsible form of mining. No? Kailangan din ho, alagaan ng kalikasan. I was also asking them, kayo ba'y sinasama sa mga benepisyo na nakukuha sa mga industriya or sa mga the money that is earned from your land? Hindi daw ho. No? So we have to find a way so that they will also benefit from the wealth of their land, natural or otherwise. We have to find a way to integrate them into our economy. For example, some of the wealthiest people in other countries like Canada are those indigenous people. May mga reservations, diba, that are protected. Why can't we have cultural tourism? Why can't we showcase the various indigenous cultures and use them for tourism? They like the idea. No, kasi mapreserve yung culture at kikita pa sila. At tayo as Filipinos, we will remember where we came from. Hindi lang, kasi nasira ho ito dahil sa mga dumating ang Spaniards, diba, they banished the Babaylands to the mountain. We lost connection with where did we come from, with our culture, with our uniqueness. No? So let us include them in the economic development and let's consult with them. Now, I know that medyo magulo ang some of our laws on ancestral land. Let's revisit that. No? Kasi that's often a source of killing, of violence, no? Of land grabbing, etc. So we can do that. And let's not consider them invisible people. Ang sinabi sa akin, itong mga indigenous groups, ang dami pala nila. Pati dito sa Negros, ang dami nila. Pero nahihiya daw sila sabihin na indigenous sila. They hide with the others. No? Because they feel that if they say they're indigenous people, they're looked at differently. So bakit? Diba? Dapat hindi ganon. So, it's time to revisit the laws on ancestral domain, and perhaps let's make a law on recognizing the uniqueness, diversity of indigenous people in the Philippines, and let's include them. No, let's have some sort of economic stimulation, capitalizing on the indigenous people, on the sense that their uniqueness. Let's include them in economic development. And let's make sure that everything that applies to Filipinos, like universal healthcare, kasama sila doon. Yung sila doon. So let's not separate them from us. Okay? Integrate but retain their uniqueness. Basically that.
With Father Jerome Ceciliano on via phone patch. Yes, Father Jerome, back to you, please.
Ito naman, Jake at Doktora, ay general question lang po ito, ano? Alam po natin ang kalakaran sa paggagawa ng batas na minsan po ay yung mga senador, kasama ng mga kongresista, ng mga legislators yung tawagin natin, ay sumusunod minsan, ano, sa gusto po ng presidente. Okay. Pero may mga pagkakataon din na yung gusto ng presidente ay mukha yatang hindi naman din katanggap-tanggap, ano, sa publiko. Okay. Ngayon po, kung dumating po sa ganong sitwasyon, for example, there are legislative agenda na gustong isulong po ng presidente and yet, you are not supportive of it. Pero paano mo ngayon ipapakita yung iyong political will, okay, na tutulan, halimbawa, yung isinusulong ng executive through the president himself or herself. At para talagang pabigyan mo naman po ng, kumbaga, ay boses yung mga nire-represent ninyo bilang senador.
Okay, thank you for that question. Actually, ang tawag sa tao siguro, I will be a responsible fiscalizer. No? Kasi alam ko naman ang realities ng mga ibang kalakaran sa politika at sa legislation, kuminsan sunod-sunod na lang sila sa presidente kasi siguro you end up with a majority, mas maraming benepisyo, etc. etc. But for me, sanay ako na na kumontra kung talagang hindi ko gusto or I believe it is not right. Ako isang tao na hindi ako mag-iingay at kukontra just for the sake of mag-kontra. Pero kung tama ginagawa, I will say so. Kung hindi, I will say so. Mag-privilege speech ako. I will express what I really believe. No? Because that's what I have always done. But that's what I've always been. No? Those who know me, hindi ako takot magsalita. Kung talagang hindi ako sang-ayon, hindi ako sang-ayon. Kasi that's the nature of a democracy. Dapat hindi kayo parang rubber stamp. Supposedly balance of power, di ba? Kung rubber stamp na lang ang Kongreso at Senado, ano pa kaya? But why are you still there? Because you have to know, you have to have your conscience. You work based on your conscience at sa isip po. Sa isip po at sa konsyensya. Kung talaga sa tingin ko ay mali, I will say so. No? Kasi meron namang debate naman sa floor, di ba? Kailangan din malaman ng taong bayan kung bakit ayaw ko, kung bakit tutulak ko. And let the people judge. And I know there are times when the minority opinion can eventually become the majority opinion, especially kung may public pressure. It has happened to my father in the Supreme Court. He was not the ponente, siya yung dissenting, no? But because of public pressure, nag-change din at dahil nakita rin ng ibang justices yung wisdom ng sinulat niya, nag-iba. Tapos naging majority opinion na, yung una ay naging minority. So I think it's just a matter of following your mind, your intelligence, and your conscience, and speaking out, and letting the public know bakit, anong dahilan. Tapos ipaliwanag sa madaling paraan, sa paraan na madaling maintindihan ng kahit ordinaryong tao. Para they know why, and why it's going to be affecting them, why it's important to their lives. And let the people judge. Yan.
Okay, follow-up question ng Jika, no, tsaka Doktora. Madalas po na merong mga ginagawa po ng mga inquiry ang Senado, di kaya Kongreso. Are you in favor of that? Na kung minsan sa mata ng publiko para nagiging showcase na lang Okay? Are you in favor of having all these Senate inquiries na hindi naman din alam ng publiko kung ano nang nangyayari? Ano na po ba ang naging katapusan? O di kaya kayo po ba ay may isang alternative para yung mga inimbestigahan ay totally, directly mapa-account kagad sa di umano yung mga ginawa nilang krimen?
Tama ho. That's a very good question. Kasi ako, advocate ako eh. I'm an advocate for good governance and for health. At madalas ho, frustrated nga kami. Kasi parang yung Senate inquiries or yung congressional inquiries, nagiging parang grandstanding. Di ba? Alam ko yun eh. Kuminsan naman talaga may mga kasong na-file. Like what happened in the PhilHealth inquiry in 2019. Maraming kinasuhan. No, in fact, I even testified dun sa DOJ committee that ginamit nila yung ibang ebidensya that was taken from the from the Senate. No, ang dapat ho gawin nito ay inquiries must continue in aid of legislation. I intend to have a counterpart people's group na talagang tututukan yung mga inquiries. At as soon as may ebidensya ho kami, hayaan mo na silang kasuhan yung mga tao. Now, we have to have what happens after that, no? Like overwhelming, like family, ano na nangyari? Okay? We have to have an accountability. We have to tell the people, okay, ito yung inquiry namin in latest legislation. Ano yung legislation ang lumabas doon sa inquiry na yun? Kasi sometimes wala. So we have to have that. We have to see it through. We have to see it through. Up to the end. Bitin kasi. Bitin.
Okay, thank you po. Thank you.
Yes, thank you po. Actually, Dr. Mingita, sa totoo lang, ang puna talaga ng tao is so much hours, so many days, hours, hearing time is, di ba, wasted on different topics. And they're interesting to watch, pero wala nga pong conclusion, walang ending. Walang nakulong or wala pong nakasuhan, wala, zero. Ano? So, it's really sayang po talaga yung oras no na
Can I say something to that, Angelique?
Yes. Okay, 1 minute, please.
Some people think it's ACDC. It's like they attack just so that tapos nagkaka-arengluhan. You cannot help it eh. People suspect that, no? That's why we need to see its logical conclusion. And we must report to the people, sino nakasuhan? Anong batas ang nagawa dahil dito? Hindi pa, it's incomplete. We have to complete. That's one thing we have to do. But they're necessary, but they must be complete. That's all.
But you see, it's still important, papatuloy nyo pa rin itong mga hearings na ito.
It's important kasi, for example, yung PhilHealth inquiry, ang problema kasi, bitin kasi hindi nila alam ang tunay na question na dapat tanungin. You have to have knowledgeable people. That's why I also want to be there because if I ask PhilHealth about how we'll change the law, I know what to ask eh. Kasi nandun ako, I was there inside, I saw the problems. And parang huwag niya ako lulukohin. So we have to ask the real questions and demand the real answers and have conclusions, no? And make a nice report to the people that the people understand what is the reason you're doing this. Kulang mo yun.
Yes, Doktora, nabanggit mo yung the time that you were in PhilHealth, because I also, I received feedback asking, what were you able to do when you were in PhilHealth? Kasi that was like a little over a year lang po. Were there any changes that you were able to institute in PhilHealth? Talaga? Go ahead.
We were. I'll tell you what, no? As soon as I entered PhilHealth, I saw fragmented yung IT system talaga. I wanted data on pneumonia. I got different from accreditation committee, different from the legal committee. Iba-iba. Bakit ganon? So we immediately got an enterprise architect in order to fix the IT system inside. And when I left PhilHealth, June 30, 2016, there was already some integration. You had a dashboard. You press a button, kita mo na lahat. Ilan ang pneumonia sa hospital na to? We could see the whole picture. So I don't know what happened since then. Again, there was a lot of resistance to that. A lot of resistance to integration of the IT system. So you know why naman there's resistance, diba? Obviously. No? Two is, we were able to fix the system of cataract surgery. No? Kasi ang nangyayari at that time, mga illegal recruiters na were lording it over the doctors. Now, they were bringing patients na kahit hindi kailangan operahan, sasabihin sa doktor, oy, kailangan may mangyari, otherwise, hindi na kita bibigyan ng pasyente. Yung mga, so we did it to circumvent with the IOLs. It's very difficult to explain. You can't explain in 1 minute. No? But we were able to fix the cataract system para mo-lessen ho yung fraud at maprotektahan yung pasyente.
Okay. Isa pang problema po nakita din sa PhilHealth, especially during the pandemic, was yung pong pagka-categorize sa mga sakit na dahil maganda po at malaki yung benefit ng COVID, I think maximum was 800,000, meron ho mga ibang sakit na hindi naman talaga COVID. Lagi naman COVID para ho, ganun. How can we put a stop to things like that?
Okay. Again, something wrong with the system inside. And again, a lot of PhilHealth is an honor system. The doctor in the hospital, they'll put there. No? Now, PhilHealth naman, masama system to find out ano ba talaga, totoo ba talaga. May mga ibang packages ho, yung Z packages na ginawa namin, yung catastrophic cases. Kasama ho yung investigative part, like diagnostic tests. No? Kasama ho doon before you can say it's really that. You don't just take the word of the hospital. We don't take the word of it. Because, for example, okay, you want breast cancer, for example, or kidney transplant, or leukemia. You won't just take the word of the doctor, it is that. You have to have all the laboratory tests ahead as part of the package. Isa submit. So we can have Z packages. We should have had a Z package for COVID. Para sa ganon, they cannot just claim it's COVID. Dapat yung criteria was strict. Problema, hindi ho nangyari yon. So we can do that. Like certain diseases, we can package them already in such a way that we need to get the evidence that ito nga yun. At mabilis dapat yung evaluation. And I am sorry to say, some hospitals were able to do that and some were not. Some hospitals were able to claim COVID even hindi COVID, and some were not. So you decide why. No? Obviously, there's some sort of irregularities there. So yun. We have to have criteria, strict criteria. And it cannot be retroactive. I'm sorry, they had some circulars written in November or something, and then 6 months pa ang release. So for 6 months, people were claiming without tests, okay? Then 6 months later, they released it, and they told the hospitals retroactive. You cannot do that. So ang gulo-gulo ho ng sistema, kailangan ayusin. So,
Hindi naman dapat bumagyan ng buong PhilHealth. Ano po?
Actually, no. I'll tell you something. When unang ginawa yung Universal Healthcare Act, the first time it was written in the lower house, in the Congress, no? The initial version ho, tuwagin yung PhilHealth, original, palitan ng Philippine Health Security Corporation. Hindi ibig sabihin naman na mawalan ng trabaho lahat. So it was their way of getting back the good ones and weeding out the bad ones. Kasi ang hirap magpatanggal ng empleyado sa gobyerno. Kailangan kasuhan, kailangan ma-prove, or you force them to resign because of civil service, di ba? So, that was the original plan po. No? And, but then by the time the third reading na siya, wala na ho yun. So, it was maintained and even strengthened. Ako naman, overhaul and transfer to the Department of Finance. In a way, it's also like changing it and cleansing it. And the cleansing ho, kailangan kasama mga doktor sa cleansing. Ako, if I were the president of PhilHealth, you can have the doctors tell you sino nag-extort sa inyo. Then we can start from scratch. No? And may amnesty, but don't do it again. Parang ganon. And probation.
May nabasa lang ako po, Doktora, recently about organ trafficking. Bilang isang doktor, nabasa ko po yung sa social media, makikita na po natin yung kidney for sale. Siguro yung tanong ko po, ano ba yung magiging epekto ng ganitong gawain at paano ba natin maproprotektahan yung mga, alam naman natin yung mga pumapasok dito sa ganitong transaksyon ay mga mahihirap nating kababayan. Paano po natin sila maproprotektahan dahil sila rin po yung naaabuso ng ibang sektor na pinagkakakitaan po?
Okay, that's a good question, no, Andy. No, actually, isa sa mga plataforma ko is to strengthen organ and tissue donation in the country. Kasi yung iBank is my baby, yung iBank Foundation. No? At alam ko ho, walang masyadong effort yung ating gobyerno sa cadaveric organ donation. No? Kaya nangyayari, yung mga kidney for sale, yung mga living yan, mga buhay, nagbebenta ng kidney. Because unlike, dapat ang ating mas maging trust ngayon is cadaveric, yung namatay at nagbigay. Okay? And kulang ho sa education, kulang ho sa trust, kulang ho sa incentives to the hospitals. Ang ating gagawin ko is part of the, kasi meron tayong Organ Donation Act, but hindi ho, kulang ho ng implementation, parang biro-biroan lang. No? Dapat yung mga hospital na gumagawa ng transplants ay dapat meron silang donation program. Otherwise, they cannot do the transplants. Kailangan may effort. Kasi ho, but maraming tao ngayon ay willing na mag-donate. Yung mga tao may pinag-aralan din naman. At just because mahirap sila, iniibig sabihin na hihingi sila ng pera. Okay? Kulang lang ng incentives at kulang lang ng incentives sa hospitala at kulang ng edukasyon. Two is yung ating LTO, for example. Biruan na naman. Meron silang administrative order saying that anybody who's going to apply for driver's license kailangan tanungin, do you want to donate your organ or tissue? Ang ginagawa naman ng LTO, nilalagay nila no without even asking you. So it's not effective. So it's parang hindi nila siniseryoso. Tapos so ako, gagawin kong batas yun, ilalagay ko sa batas, they must ask. It must be part of the driver's license, no? Hindi lang po yun, ang ating mga national ID system, dapat isama na doon yung question na yun para wala na mga arte-arte, no? And then aside from that po, yung mga memorial plans, no? Let's make it na part of the question. Kasi memorial plans, anong klaseng ataul, anong klaseng service ang gusto ninyo? Do you wish to donate any organ or tissue? Para sa gano'n, alam rin ng mga pamilya, hindi na masyadong mahirap, hindi na siya masyadong madrama. Let's change little our culture para part of the exit plan. At syempre ho, ngayon ho, meron akong NBI, meron akong multidisciplinary, may task force na ho for organ trafficking. Meron ho. And then the bottom line is, you have to alleviate people from poverty. Kasi it's really poverty that forces them to do this. It's all connected ho. You cannot solve one problem without the other. But on my part ho, i-review ko yung Organ Donation Act at para maging seryoso ang ating mga iba't ibang mga branches ng government to really implement it. Kasi more people now are open to it, especially the young people, mas open sila talaga ngayon, no? To it. Hindi lang tinatanong, dapat may required request, required inquiry sa mga ospital. Hindi na ginagawa. Isama ho natin yon. Meaning, you have to ask. You have to ask. Okay.
Maraming salamat po, Dr.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Kuya Andy. Doktora, pumunta naman po tayo sa edukasyon. Usaping edukasyon naman po. Marami pong mga public teacher o ating ilan po ay mga volunteer teacher, lalo-lalo na po sa mga indigenous people na nabanggit po ninyo kanina din, na nagtuturo po sa mga malalayong lugar. Halimbawa po dito po sa aming probinsya, sa Aklan po, may mga public teacher po na bago makapunta sa primary school, kailangan nilang maglakbay ng 2 days at tumawid sa 24 wild rivers bago makapunta sa pinagtuturuan nila. Kung kayo po ay papalari na maihalal bilang isang mambabatas, paano nyo po matutulungan ang mga guro, mapapublic school teacher or volunteer man po, para mabigyan po ng quality education ng mga Pilipinong mag-aaral sa lugar na malalayo po? Ganun din ang security for the teachers.
Well, I have to admit, I'm not familiar pa with the current laws of that. Pero sa tingin ko, I think logically and morally, kailangan may hazard pay sila, kailangan may incentive sila. Because what they're doing is beyond, over and beyond the call of duty, no? To subject yourself to those dangers. Dapat may incentives, may hazard pay, para ito ng mga at may security. We have to supply them with security. Alam niyo po, I was in Lanao del Sur last week, no? And even I was given some security, no? Ano po kaya yung mga pupunta sa malayong lugar ng mga teachers, di ba? So I think we have to review. I cannot say I know the law very well, but offhand, we have to give them incentive pay, we have to give them hazard pay para mas maraming magwilling na gumawa nito, and some security. And I think we have to improve our transportation system, no? At yung mga roads, no, and bridges. Again, it's all connected. We cannot think in compartmental ways. I always tell people we must have a way to think na dugtong-dugtong sila, konektado ito, our transportation system, our bridges, no? And aside from that, yung internet system, we have to improve our internet system in the country para pati itong mga malalayong lugar, maaabot na nila internet, and who knows, they don't have to go so often, no? Baka kahit imbes na everyday pumunta, baka once a week or twice a week, then they can do online, then once a week punta sila doon. No? Para for face-to-face, kasi iba pa rin yun, tapos maybe some tests, kamustahan. So, if we had a better internet system, we can reach so many more. Hindi lang sa education, pati sa health. Pati mga problema natin sa mga far-flung areas, kasi may mga sistema na tayo ngayon, you can even do tests, etc., na ilalagay nyo lang sa cloud, and then you can be in touch with the doctor, by the internet, by virtual. We learned that because of the pandemic. improve natin yung digital internet system natin. Pabilisin, pa-improve, maaabot mo pati yung mga indigenous. So, those are all connected. Okay? Education, transportation, hazard pay, and incentivization of the teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Padilla. Kuya Andy?
Sige, salamat, Sister Eleanor. At nabanggit po ni Ate Jick kanina, Doktora, na ang pamilya, kumbaga yung basic unit of society, ang karamihan ng problema sa lipunan ay nagmumula rin sa problema sa pamilya. At yung, alam naman po natin yung kahalagahan at yung responsibilidad ng isang nanay at saka isang tatay. Pero ngayon, yun po yung meron pong iba-ibang opinion na ano po ba, sino po ba ang pwedeng magsama o magtaguyod ng pamilya? Ano po yung pananaw nyo sa same-sex marriage?
Okay. Actually, there's two things. There's same-sex marriage and same-sex union. Okay? Or I'm against same-sex marriage, but I realize and recognize that there's a union of people who've been living together, sometimes 10 years, 20 years, no? I recognize that there can be and should be a union, legal, hindi siya church. Kasi when you say marriage, I think that should be the realm of the church. Kasi kanya-kayang religion yan, no? And I respect that. No? I'm a Catholic and the Catholic Church does not recognize same-sex marriage. But ako, marami ko nakikita as a doctor, no? Mga magkasama, 20 years, 10 years, talagang mas mahaba pa sa man and wife, no? Talagang magkasama sila and they have a relationship, they have a union. But when somebody dies, for example, wala silang karapatan, no? Even to decide for organ donation, we've had that. Yung partner, yung tunay na partner, alam niya na gusto mag-donate itong namatay. Pero yung mga kamag-anak, yung kapatid, yung magulang, kasi walang legal right itong partner to decide for that person who died, hindi siya napapakinggan. So I think we should recognize that there can be same-sex unions, but not same-sex marriage. There's a difference. It can be a legal partnership. Some legal rights. That's my
Salamat, Doktora.
Okay, we have additional questions for you, Dr. Dominga Padilla. Meron hong nag-text na dapat daw panggitin namin ng mas madalas yung pangalan ninyo. Because
Angelique, say more lang. Just use Mingita Padilla. No need to say my whole name. Kasi
ano, actually, gusto nila marinig yung buong pangalan nga po ninyo because they want to be able to recognize it. Pero in the ballot, it's not going to be called Mingita.
No.
Will it be called?
Just Mingita Padilla. Doktora Mingita Padilla. Yun lang po ang pangalan ko sa balota. Kasi doon ako kilala. So,
yes.
Wala yatang space sa balota sa buong pangalan ko. Masyadong maiksi.
Yes. So wala na po yung Maria Dominga. It's
Maria Dominga Cecilia, napakahaba. So actually, Padilla, Doktora Mingita, yun lang po nasa balota. Number 48.
Okay, so Dr. Padilla, ito po ay actually gusto rin itanong ng aking kakilalang nurse nang malaman niya po na ikaw po ay aming i-interviewin. Ang Pilipinas po ay naging biggest supplier po ng mga nurse sa buong mundo. At ang pagdami po ng mga lisensyadong nurse na nais magtrabaho sa ibang bansa ay naging dahilan din ng problema ng mismo ng Pilipinas dahil sa kawalan din ng mga nursing po, especially ngayong pandemic na ito, naramdaman po natin yon. Bilang isang doktor po for 34 years at kung papalarin po maging senador, ano po ang pananaw dito at paano po yung magiging masusolusyonan ito?
Okay, thank you for the question. Actually, marami, no? Alam naman natin ang dahilan kung bakit pupunta yung mga nurse abroad is money. Mas mataas ang compensation. So, at mga benepisyo. Naalala ninyo itong pandemya, nagrarally na sa kalye yung mga nurses kasi ni compensation, ay yung mga benepisyo, hindi nakukuha, kahit mga hazard, no? It kailangan ho, kasi kami ang gumagawa ng budget every year. We have to make sure that every year, andun ho yung mga benefits ng mga healthcare workers. Kasi nakakaligtaan eh. Alam mo yan, it's being forgotten. May Magna Carta for healthcare workers. Pero again, hindi siniseryoso. Kailangan laging nakasaad sa GAA, sa budget every year, is always remember the benefits for the healthcare workers. That's for government. Ang kawawa rin yung mga private. Now, we cannot dictate to private hospitals what to give their nurses. No? Because kawawa, kasi some private hospitals, nagsasara na nga kasi hindi sila binabayaran ng PhilHealth. So how can they give now their nurses higher salary when they don't even get paid properly? Now we have to now find a way to also help the private hospitals so they can give their nurses better salaries. So salary is a major basic, no? Tumaas na yung ang gusto ng mga nurses is 50,000 a month, no? Entry. Now I don't know if the government can afford that. Because right now I think it's 30,000+ a month. At least give them that, no? And then increase na lang their benefits. Now, number 2, let's give them more professional development, no? Iniisip ko sa states, sa ibang bansa, may tinatawag na nurse practitioner. In between a nurse and a doctor, they can prescribe, sila pwede mag-man ng clinics. It can be a way to also solve the problems ng kakulangan ng mga doktor sa mga barangay. Pwede tayong magawa ng nurse practitioner with the Philippine Nursing Association. We can add that sa educational system, no? But there's a category. Then we can make them man yung mga ilang health centers, no? Yung nurse practitioner. Tataas yung kanyang, para may capitation siya, tataas yung kanyang sweldo, and meron siyang professional fulfillment. Then, because of the IT system, because of what we learned even from the pandemic, and we can also make sure she has a partner doctor kahit hindi nandun, no? At least kung wala siya, there's certain things that she doesn't understand or he cannot handle anymore, saka siya pwedeng konsulta, like ask a friend, no? Sa doktor na naka-assign doon. And then, so with the referral system, it can happen. So we can give them professional development, increase, and more chances to earn. That's number 2. So sweldo, benepisyo, dapat nakalaan sa IKAA. Yung government should be able to help also some private hospitals so that they can increase the salary of the nurses. We can have a law like that. No? There must be some partnership na rin. PPP na rin tayo sa ospital. No? Tapos number 4 or number 3, I don't remember what number I'm talking about anymore, it's yung nurse practitioner. Let's have a category of that for professional development and earning more.
Thank you, Doktora. Kuya Andy?
Salamat, Sister Leonor. Doktora, bilang isang babae at isang doktor, naniniwala po ba kayo na karapatan ng isang babae na pumili kung magdesisyon kung itutuloy niya o hindi ang pagbubuntis? Or yung, what's your take on the decriminalization of abortion? Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm also Catholic kasi ho. So, so my beliefs are also molded by my faith. No? I am very sympathetic for with women who have to make the tough decision, no? Whether to continue a pregnancy or not. No? Pero I also believe that it is a life that is being affected. No? Hindi ko kinokondena yung mga babae who make that decision dahil sa kuminsan kapit sa patalim. But I don't believe we should ever get to a culture where nagiging parang wala lang, nonchalant, no? Na parang it doesn't mean anything to you to end the life. No? So I believe that when women make the decision to end the life, it's because of great need. At least in the Philippines. So nandun pa rin yung ating culture na pinapahalagahan po natin ang isang buhay sa loob natin. No? Kahit wala pa natin, hindi pa natin nakikita. So I don't believe it is a right. No? I don't believe it is. I believe some women may have the right to do whatever they want with their bodies. But when it comes to another life inside, I also believe that any woman who makes a decision to do that does so with a lot of grief, and a lot of regret, and usually because there's a great need. Kapit sa patalim mo. So we should never come to a point where we consider it as an ordinary thing. Yan ang mahirap. Okay? Pero we have to be compassionate with these people because whatever decisions they make to end the life inside them, maraming ho pagsisisi yan. No? Alam ko yun kasi I've met a lot of them. And usually kapit sa patalim. So that's how I feel about it. Compassion for the woman, but it should never be condoned as ordinary and run-of-the-mill. Yun.
Thank you, Doctora. Just a follow-up question. Is it safe to assume that you are against the reimposition of the death penalty?
Yes, I am against the reimposition of the death penalty. I think more than the death penalty po, no, talagang the certainty of punishment, yung talagang kailangan. no? At marami ho rin ako nakikita kasi my father was in the Supreme Court, no? Mga abogadong pamilya ko, may marami kasi usually yung mga napapatawan ng death penalty, yung mga walang kakayanan for good defense lawyers. No? So, ang gusto kong mangyari, at ito rin ang stand ng aming partido, ihiwalay ninyo yung mga heinous criminals sa mga hindi heinous, lagyan ng ibang kulungan talaga, itong mga heinous, especially mga drug lords, etc., so that they have no way of communicating with the outside or continuing their business, but rehabilitate those who are not heinous. No? So I'm not for the death penalty because often there are times talaga ho na yung mga pinapatay from death penalty ay talagang hindi naman dapat patawan ng death penalty. Kulang lang ho sila ng pera for the best defense lawyers. So I'd rather, di ba there's a saying, I'd rather have a guilty man go free than an innocent man be executed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sister Lenore.
Okay. Doktora, noong sa isang ginawa pong interview sa'yo sa ibang media outlet, sinabi mo po na isa sa mga nais mong maging bahagi ng iyong legacy sa Senado ay ang food security. Ako po mismo ay nakapanood ng forum ito po. At ito ay totoong malaking problema sa Pilipinas, lalong-lalo na po sa mga Pilipinong mahihirap. Sila po ang nakakaramdam talaga nito. Bilang isang mababatas po, ano ang nakikita mo pong solusyon sa problema ng mga magsasaka sa usapin ng mga lupang sinasaka nila at ang mga suliraning kinakaharap po ng mga mangingisda?
Okay, very good question. No? Number one, maraming problema, no? At you'll try to solve them. Isa yung rampant talamakang smuggling. Smuggling ng mga gulay, ng mga mga prutas, mga smuggling. Meron tayong batas, again, on this, no? Na sinasabi na yung whole-scale smuggling ng mga vegetables and fruits, it should be considered economic sabotage. Hindi available ito. Kaya lang, hindi napapatupad. It's one, smuggling. Lantaran ho. Yung rice importation, yung Rice Tariffication Act, we have to either repeal, remove, revise. Kasi hindi ho natutulungan ng mga magsasaka rice farmers natin. Number three, meron rin tayong batas for the farmers, especially smallhold farmers, no? Na dapat may libre silang abono, may libre silang irrigation, may mga equipment na they can borrow, they can use without renting, no? Pero hindi ho napapatupad. Dapat ho mga 18 billion ho nabigay dito sa equipment lang, hindi ho napapatupad. So we have to make sure that they get the right equipment at matulungan natin sila. Kasi may batas na naman na hindi na naman napapatupad. Ang problema natin ang gano'n. Ang daming batas, they're not implemented properly. No? So we have to revisit that and make sure it's implemented. And then, isa pa ho, we have to, yung mga magsasaka, no? Yung mga magsasaka, we can probably do what Davao del Norte is doing. Binibili ho ng gobyerno lahat ng ani nila. Tayo naman, hindi pwede natin gawin yon. Maybe 50% of the produce ng mga farmers, bili ng gobyerno at tayo magbenta para less ang profit, tapos less ang price, at nakakasiguro yung mga farmers that someone is going to buy their produce at the right price. Sa Davao del Norte ho, yung mga magsasaka doon, masaya. Noon nakakuliglig sila, ngayon naka-hilux na sila. Their lives are improving and their children are still farmers. Kasi nakikita nila, may asenso yung farmer. They have to have pride in what they do. In most countries, in many countries, in mga developed countries, mayayaman ko mga farmers. Dito, we don't give them importance and we're going to lose them because of that. Tapos, yung mga mangingisda ho, kasi meron na bang garahe ng bangka? Bakit wala tayong ganon? So, tuwing magkakabagyo, nasisira sila. Dapat, alam na darating ang bagyo, itago na ho din yung bangka. Tapos yung mga canneries, we should have canneries in all near the ports. Para tayo mismo, we give them a chance to process the fish. No? Hindi na aksaya. We should have more freezers, no? The warehouse freezers and reefer vans na may freezer vans. I think some of the galunggong that we're importing from China, galing sa atin, sa West Philippine Sea. No? Tapos, sila freeze na binabalik sa atin. Kung minsan may mga preservatives pa. So we should stop that. We should have our own processing, canneries, etc. And West Philippine Sea, konektado rin. We have to protect what's our own. Not only because of the fishermen, pero also because of the environment. No? Because of the environment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Padilla. Totoo nga naman po yun, no, na ang hirap ng mga magsasaka, lalo ng pandemic na nasisira yung mga produkto nila, walang bumibili or hindi nila nabibili kasi nga sa sobrang baba po ng presyo po.
Oo, tapos yung smuggling mas binibigyan importansya yung mga smuggled kaysa sa atin. Kaya hihirapan nila.
Father Jerome.
Hi, Jik. Yeah, hi, Jik. I'm Dr. Hingita. Ito naman
Yes,
po
Father.
ay patungkol sa sources ng power po natin. May mga lumalabas po ngayon na dapat daw i-reactivate natin ang Bataan Nuclear Power Plant bilang isa sa pagkukuhanan po natin ng power. So ano po ba ang take niyo dito? Kasi I think it will take also a legislation on the part of the Senate and of course Congress para magawa po natin yan. So what's your take on this? Ano po bang stand niyo dyan?
Okay, first of all, we need to really explore alternative sources of energy. Saan tayo mayaman? Sa solar energy po. Init-init sa Pilipinas. Ang dami nating araw. All year round may araw. We're not exploiting this. We're not maximizing the solar energy. That must be, the government must give more money here so that the people can use it. Okay, isa yun, no? Hydroelectric, meron na wind energy, meron, pero solar talaga kulang na kulang tayo, no? At sa ibang biofuels. Nuclear energy, we can explore, but I don't think it's the Bataan nuclear plant, no? I think it has to be investigated, it has to be looked at very well, kasi ang tagal-tagal na po nito, I don't think talaga, safety-wise, it will pass the safety standards. Now, pwede pa ba nating i-rehabilitate ito? Hindi ko alam. I'm not sure. But my main concern about any nuclear plant is safety. Saan natin ilalagay? Kailangan sa lugar na walang lindol, for example. Sa lugar na hindi maaabot ng tsunami, like what happened in Japan. So, nuclear energy is an option. But whether it's the Bataan nuclear power plant, I don't think it is. Pero, I am not still, kailangan kong pag-aralan, no? Kaya ba niya? Is it safe to reopen? Anong kailangan gawin doon para maayos? Baka naman mas mura magpagawa ng na barge or something that's a nuclear plant in a different area na talagang safe, no? With higher standards. Kasi ginawa yun so long ago. Mas maganda yung standards ngayon and safety standards than any nuclear plant. But we cannot turn our backs completely on nuclear power, okay? Except that, I don't know, hindi ko alam kung talagang ang dapat ay yung Bataan nuclear plant. Kasi parang masyado ng maraming masalimuot yung nuclear plant na yan. No? Ang daming nangyari na dyan, pera, etc. And safety-wise, that's my main concern. Pwede pa kayang maging foolproof yung plant na yon? Baka hindi. No? So I need to study it. I need to see the specs. I need to have it studied by the experts. But offhand, I don't think it's possible to rehabilitate that.
Okay. Another question po, isa sa mga naipasang batas nito pong panahon ng pandemya, yung anti-terror law. Very controversial po ito in a sense na tumaning ito ng katakot-takot na mga patiko sa iba't ibang mga sektor. Kayo po ba, kung uupo kayo bilang senador, ano po ba ang magiging stand ninyo dito sa anti-terror law?
Okay. Actually, yung anti-terror law, to tell you frankly, it was passed, you know why? Because of the pressure from the international community tungkol sa terrorism and yung mga money laundering because of the terrorists na ginagamit nila yung gobyerno for terroristic activities. There's one provision there that I think we might have to revisit, no? Kasi nabasa ko ito yung provision, you're able to hold somebody for very many days na without kahit wala pa siyang charges. No? Yun ang kailangan natin i-revisit on. May mga safeguards ko siya. Against abuse. I saw it also. Pero we need to have a very, very, very close oversight. So siguro we should have a hearing to review the anti-terror law and how it has been implemented so far. Because ako naman pinapakinggan ko rin yung mga biktima ng terrorism, mga biktima ng bomba, yung mga nawala ng pamilya, nawala ng buhay. There's always two sides to a story. We need a form of anti-terror law. We just have to be very careful na hindi siya maabuso at hindi siya magamit para lang balikan yung mga tao na nagrereklamo sa gobyerno. So we need to revisit it. but we need to also have oversight. But we need some form of anti-terror law. Otherwise, we would have been a pariah in the world. Ito kasi hindi napapailiwanag eh. Bakit pinasa ito? Why did we have to have it? It was pressure for the international community. Because the Philippines was a haven for terrorists, especially as far as money was concerned. Money laundering especially. So, hindi ko alam bakit hindi lang. So there, we have to make sure hindi siya maubuso, hindi siya magamit para balikan yung mga taong just because you are complaining against the government. Yun.
Apa. Okay, thank you for that. Last question ko na po, Jake. Last question ko na po ito, Dr. Mingita.
Yes,
You mentioned about revisiting the law, especially anti-terror law. Pero bago pa lang po ito, ano? And of course, wini-welcome po namin yung magiging initiative mo kung sakaling kayo papalarin na maupo sa Senado. Pero meron pa akong isang batas sa very, very controversial din at palagay ko kinakailangan talagang i-revisit. I'm talking about the RH law. When the RH law was passed, it was supposed to be an anti-poverty measure. But more than 10 years after it was passed, nakita po natin dito mukhang wala naman naging impact yan para iangat yung buhay ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino. So ngayon po, you talked about revisiting the law. Ito po ba na RH law, kinakailangan po ba ito na i-revisit din? Kinakailangan bang i-repeal? Parang pumupondo tayo sa ganitong batas pero hindi naman niya na-achieve, yung pong goal na dapat na ma-achieve niya in the end.
Actually, reproductive health, yung pag-angat ng buhay ng Pilipino ay again multifactorial. You cannot just say dahil may RH to ay aangat ang buhay ng Pilipino. Kulang pa ang edukasyon. Yung 4Ps natin, naging joke. Yung pagtuwid pang pamilya ay dapat pang-angat pang pamilya. At hindi ho dapat ito unconditional. Dapat ito conditional. I don't know why they made it unconditional. Ito, let me just put RH in the context of everything. Again, I'm always like that. Holistiko ako mag-isip. Yung RH law ho, useless ang RH law ho, kung hindi rin natin ho, ibabalik sa ano pang gusto natin mangyari sa pamilya. Okay? Education, and yung pagtawid pang pamilya should be conditional. Ito ay isang award-winning program sa Latin America. Bakit? Ibibigay lang natin yung pera sa iyo kung gagawin yung susunod. Magpapabakuna yung mga anak niyo, papadala niyo sa eskwela, hindi niyo gagamitin sa bisyo yung pera. Kasi the idea is, eventually, because of this subsidy you're giving to the poor, aangat ang buhay, mawawala na sila dun sa 4Ps. Dapat yan ang goal natin, hindi matatilang nagdilimos. Problema is culture of mendicity. Ang kultura na gusto mo, sige, limos ka ng lalimos. Bibigyan ka ng pera, although hindi ka bibigyan ng incentive. Now, RH law, I'm open to revisiting it in the context of all the socioeconomic problems, including education, including the 4Ps. Dapat pang-angat pang pamilya, including giving the poor a chance for the children to have internships. Kung mag-aaral sila, may sigurado na silang trabaho. Yung mga magagaling sa mga mahirap na bata, bigyan na ho ng internship sa mga companies. Ganun ho dapat Hindi ho one-track mind, hindi compartmentalized na, oy, RH law, yan, sige, aangat na kayo dahil lang may family planning. Hindi po ganun. Kasi kung hindi mo iisipin yung iba't ibang parts of the whole society, socio-economic development, education, and of course, corruption, para makababa. And then, incentivization, and opportunities po. Opportunities so that the poor do not remain poor. So we have to examine again the law in the context of all of that. Okay? That's my stand there. Okay? So we have to teach them.
Thank you.
And education, the higher the education, the lower the puppet, the lower the children, diba? That's already known. So let's have a holistic approach to everything. That's my answer.
Thank you for that, Dr. Mingita. Jake?
Okay, thank you po, Dr. Now you have 3 minutes for your closing statement. Bibigyan namin kayo ng opportunity to summarize and to, of course, invite our audience to consider you for as after this election. Okay, go ahead please. 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, maraming salamat sa Radio Veritas, sa mga nag-interview sa akin ngayon, sa panel. Maraming salamat sa mga nakinig at nanonood sa akin. Ako po si Dr. Dominga Padilla, isang doktor na nagsilbi ng 34 years. Anong legacy o bibigay ko sa bayan? Actually, I just want to be a very good public servant. A public servant na may alam at may puso, na malakas, strong in her gentleness. Na gagawin ko lahat, tututukan ko yung mga pangangailangan ng bayan. At wala akong arte, wala akong gimmick, And kalusugan, kabataan, climate change resiliency, food security ho, no? Ito yung mga top priorities ko para sa bayan because I think these are really what we need today. And I hope you consider voting for this doctor, itong doktora na ito na nagsilbi na sa bayan ng 34 years and naging advocate, naging advisor ng mga congressmen, ng mga senador, ng Department of Health, tumulong din sa panahon ng pandemya. Ako yun ay naglabas ng mga problema sa PhilHealth para lang sana matulungan ng taong bayan. If you want somebody like this, kung itong ganitong klaseng public servant ang gusto mo ninyo, please do consider voting for me. And another one, before I end this, no, gamitin ho natin ang ating isip, ang ating puso. Anong nararamdaman ninyo pag nakikinig kayo sa isang kandidato? Kayo ba'y nai-inspire? Kayo ba'y naiinis? Naniniwala ba kayo? Sincero ba itong taong ito? May alam ba ito? May puso ba ito? I think yun ang dapat basehan para sa ating mga susunod na leader sa darating na May 9 elections. Again, ito po si Dr. Dominga Padilla, number 48 ho sa Palota, tumatakbo bilang senador na nag-aalay ng aking buhay, ng lahat ng aking talento, ng ating dedikasyon, integridad, etc., etc., para pagsilbihan kayo ng buong puso. So, maraming salamat po at magandang araw sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Angelique. At Doktora, salamat po sa inyong pag-appear dito at sa inyong pag-liwanag. Maliwanag po ang inyong mga sagot at natutuwa ako sapagkat meron kayong dalawang bagay na pinakita sa approaches ninyo sa problems natin na bagay sa Catholic teaching at saka para sa ating bansa. Una, yung tatanungin mo ang mga tao kung ano talaga ang kailangan nila. Yan yun. Yung ngayon po yung may sinusulong sa simbahan, lalo na yung synodal approach kung tawagin yan, ay ask the people what their mind is, what their, how they live also. No? Una yun. So, ikalawa, yung holistic way of looking at problems. Do not look at a problem in isolation, but always in relation to other problems. Napakaganda po yung inyong approach. So I want to congratulate you for that. I also want to congratulate you. Napakaganda ng pagka-nuance nyo ng mga answers, mga sensitive questions na ibinigay sa inyo kanina ni Andy, halimbawa, no? Sa tanungan tungkol sa abortion, tungkol sa same-sex marriage. Meron pa pong ibang kanyan kasi madalas ginagamit yung terminology na marriage yung same-sex union na sinabi mo na talaga naman very difficult to object to it, no? Same-sex union lamang. Pero katulad meron akong kilala ngayon na hindi dito sa Pilipinas, no? Pero ang kinakasama siya, ang tawag sa kanyang, sabi ng kanyang tiya sa akin, kasal na sila. Pareho lalaki. No?
Oo, maraming ganyan.
Dapat talagang, I don't know how you will have to push for that. Same-sex union, yes, you can even approve that, but same-sex marriage, never. And we should not recognize that as marriage. It is lowering the idea of marriage, no? And perhaps corrupting the idea, not only perhaps, but certainly corrupting the idea of marriage. And then, so, yun po ang gusto ko sabihin, napakaganda po ng mga sagot ninyo. And, at kung ako, sana na nakikinig katulad ko, at ako boto kay Dr. Dominga for Senator. Patawarin ninyo aking partisan politics. Pero sa case na ito, I think it is justified because you have the mind, you have the heart, and I think you have the determination to do good for our country. You have served people up to now, And I just wish that you would continue that when you enter the field of politics, makikita po ninyo, sigurado ko, na ang hirap i-push yung mga reforms kung hindi ka makikipag-kompromiso. Kanya I hope that you just keep on the determination and discern very well what kind of compromises will not harm what you want to push through. So, congratulations po sa inyo and may God bless you in your endeavor.
Ay, thank you so much, Bishop Akani. That means so much to me. You just don't know. Masyado akong natutuwa at usog ang aking puso this morning. Thank you very much.
Ito, patayin kayo ng Diyos.
Okay, thank you, Bishop Ted. Thank you so much for your feedback. Ano po? At ngayon, dumako na po tayo sa ating Truth Covenant. Ating po i-request. I know you have a hard copy there with you, Dr. Mingita. Yes, may I request you to please read out the contents, yung kung ano nakastipulate dyan sa Truth Covenant. Go ahead. You can start now, please.
I, as a leader of this country, pledge to support and promote the right of every Filipino to vote. I pledge to advocate truthful, responsible, upright, transparent, and honest elections in this 2022 synchronized national and local polls. I pledge to support campaigns that aim to motivate the Filipino people to take responsibility for the country by participating in the polls. We also exert great effort and exhaust all means to encourage every Filipino to responsibly exercise their right to suffrage. I pledge to avoid resorting to the politics of personalities and patronage, to refrain from using guns, goons, and gold. I pledge to strongly admonish our relatives, friends, followers, and supporters to desist from using violence, deceit, fraud, and other unfair and dishonest practices. I will uphold the credibility and the integrity of the remaining campaign period and election process and the dignity of the Filipino people. I will uphold the Constitution and support truthful, responsible, upright, transparent, and honest elections on May 9, 2022. I will remember always that we are God's steward on earth and must therefore promote at all times a safe, clean, and wholesome environment and an equivocal respect and reverence for land. I commit myself to this covenant, signed this 15th day of March in the year of our Lord 2022 at the Catholic E-Forum of Radio Veritas 846. Signed, Dr. Maria Dominga Padilla, quote-unquote, Mingita Padilla. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mingita, for signing this covenant. Yes. And mamaya pa, if you can take a screenshot na lang po of that document with your signature on it para we can also post it in our website. And you can watch syempre sa mga iba pang platforms kung saan available ang Radio Veritas 846. Okay, and where will you be in the coming days sa mga taong nag-aabang sa inyo, yung mga physical rallies? Saan po kayo nandoon?
Kasi ngayon, nag-iikot ako. Right now, I'm with Monsieur de Rosario, isa pang senatorial namin. And dito kami sa Negros Occidental, nag-iikot. Until the 17th ako, then I'm going to be in Davao on the 18th, 19th sa Manila. Tapos after that, iba-iba ho. I don't even know the schedules, all the schedules. Pero then we're going to go to Region 2. And then I'm going to be in Cotabato. No? So, iba't iba ho. Sasabihin ko na lang sa Facebook page ko. Kasi I tell them when I'm sure where I'm going to be. Today ho, I'm going to the regional hospital ho, dito sa Negros Occidental. No? Provincial hospital. And to meet with some mayors. Kahapon nag-ikot kami sa palengke, grabe. No? Sa Burgos Market, so etc. So, masaya kasi, pero mainit. Masaya pero mainit.
Yes, at mainit din ang pagtanggap, I'm sure, ng ating mga...
Ay, ako, marami ko nang mayakap. So, it's mainit ang pagtanggap. Nakakatuwa naman. Yes.
Okay. At ngayon po, Dr. Mingita, tayo po'y hihingi na ng closing prayer mula po kay Bishop Ted Bacani. followed by his blessing. Yes, go ahead please, Bishop Ted.
God our Father, we thank you for giving your people a chance to pick their leaders. We thank you for this forum which enables people to know their candidates so that they can make enlightened choices. God our Father, save us from all the evils that may attend any election in the Philippines, especially vote buying, disinformation, and violence. And grant that all the candidates may present themselves as they truly are to the people, and that the people may make enlightened choices. We ask you this through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Okay. And now for your blessing, Bishop.
And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Amen and amen. Thank you so much, Bishop Ted Bacani, for your closing prayer, your feedback closing prayer, and your blessing. And kanina sabi nga ni Dr. Mingita, sana hindi kayo nainis, pero na-inspire. I'm sure marami pong na-inspire at na-encourage sa inyo pong mga ibinahagi ngayong umaga. So we wish you all the best sa darating po na halalan. Salamat muli ka na Andy Pinto and kay Leonor Rosales. Salamat sa inyong pagdalo ng mga panelists. At sa ngalan pa rin po ni Father Jerome Siciliano, nagpapasalamat din po ako ang inyong lingkod sa pagsali niyo po ngayon at pagsali niyo sa ating programa ngayong umaga. Okay, at antabayanan po sa ilang saglit ang kalakbay ng kabataan at mga kapiling po natin si Father Jade Buchanan at ang ating po mga laiko na kanyang katuwang. So with that, bye-bye na po. Pansamantala, muli Angelic Lazo po at sumainyo ang
Totohanan.
Simbahan at Halalan 2022.
One Godly Vote. Bilang paghahanda sa May 9 national elections, inihahandog ng CBCP Permanent Council sa pamamagitan ng Commission on Public Affairs at Episcopal Commission on Social Communications sa pakikipagtulungan ng ARCAM AOC, TV Maria, Catholic Media Network, Radio Veritas Asia at Veritas 846. Ang radyo ng simbahan, ang isang one-on-one discussion ng mga kandidato sa pagkapangulo, pangalawang pangulo at mga senador.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Alamin ang kanilang plataforma at mga advokasya sa politika, ekonomiya, kultura at kalikasan.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Kasama ang mga Veritas Anchors, Angelic Lazo at Reverend Father Jerome Siciliano.
The Catholic E-Forum.
Mapapakinggan dito sa Veritas 846, ang radyo ng simbahan, at mapapanood sa Facebook page DZRV 846 at sa Veritas TV Sky Cable Channel 211.
The Catholic E-Forum.